Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show. I'm Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Good evening, Dale.
We have a very long, the longest ever I remember, gap in our conversation. You just never know about the internet, and so there are going to be some times when I'm talking, and then there'll be this long pause, and then Mike's going to come in. No, he hasn't had a brain infarct. No, it's nothing like that. It's simply that he can't hear me in real time. So he'll jump in as quickly as he can after I'm done. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yes, it is.
You see what I mean? Oh man. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
we're going to start with a picture from Paris. Now, usually we don't go way outside of our borders, but this I think is pretty interesting. This is a French jihadist, and the text underneath him in Arabic says, come join the party, start your own revolution right where you are here in Paris. Here's the
Yeah.
picture.
And this is an interesting thing because when I was reading that, I go, what is the hijra or whatever? So when I Googled it, and it's like an emigration or a migration from one area to the other. That's what that's what it is for the Islamic people. However, in some parts of Southeast Asia, that the hijra is, or however you pronounce that, is the word for transgender. So essentially here, Dale has given us a photograph that says, what are you waiting for? Why not perform the hijra?
That's nice. And there's the tool that they use to perform it.
Yes, right, exactly. It's the fast, the super quick gender reassignment surgery tool.
Right. And then they pick a bathroom for him. Okay, now look, here's what we did.
Yes,
As soon
right,
as we
exactly.
heard this was happening in Paris, we telexed our friend, Stuart Sinnott, and we asked him to go to Paris to stand out in front of the movie theater and do interviews. He didn't want to do that, or he got confused. Instead, he went to a city council meeting. And so, well, same thing. And so, Stuart, tell us what you found at last night's city council meeting. What was it about?
Oh, well, first I want to say that I've never been to Paris, and I'm definitely glad I'm not there right now.
Yeah, that's
So,
for sure.
but yeah, well, I'm being new to this area. I kind of wanted to see what was going on because I caught wind of the fact that the city council was looking for suggestions about making improvements to our city. I should say our city because I live here now too. So, and I walk in and they have a blackboard and they have it divided up into 8 different subsections with each different issue of what to be addressed. Of course, very politically correct language. And then in the middle, they had a blackboard saying economic growth, economic prosperity, and so forth. And I'm thinking to myself, here I am. I just moved here, and they're trying to push a sales tax on the people, on the fine businesses and the people of this area. And and now they're looking for suggestions about economic prosperity. I mean, where is the disconnect? I stood up and I told them, I said, if you want to promote economic growth around here, just get out of the way. Leave people alone. Stop bringing up all these taxes and all these different harebrained schemes.
Right.
And I think, and then I think afterwards, I think they just they didn't really hear what I was saying, and all they were doing was basically, I think, pretty much making comments that people were kind of misinformed about what this was really all about, and they didn't really have a understanding of it. And
oh yes,
And if they had, they probably, it would have been the logical thing to do.
Right. Stu, they didn't get it. They're just stupid.
Well, I know. And I said to them, I said, there's a giant disconnect here because the vote was almost 80-20 against this thing. 80%, 20%. I say, I mean, what clearer message do you need? But, here it is. The same old struggle battle here, the same types, just like where I moved from, Jackson County. The government, I told them, government only thinks for itself, and by nature, they tend to be very parasitical.
Right.
And they didn't care much for that. And somebody in the audience yelled out that, since you just moved here, I could say you'll probably fit in really well here in Grants Pass. And
that's, Mike, doesn't that remind you of the last time the levy was on the ballot? And now this wasn't just some random person off the street. It was like the number 2 person in charge of the whole campaign for, what'd they call themselves? Stripes, Yipes. What was that? Flirts. What was the name of that group that was pressing for the levy? Pressing for the levy.
Oh, you're talking what? SOS or Cuffs?
Cuffs, not burps. Yeah, Cuffs. Cuffs was pressing for this, and
Cuffs and burps are somehow equated with one another.
Yes.
How's that work?
The lady on the radio said that the problem was that people were coming across the border, like Stu from that terrible Jackson County. And coming here to do what? Do you remember what they were coming here to do?
Yeah. They were coming here to sow the seeds of hate and discontent. So, Stu, he must be one of the insurgents. Kind of like these Syrian people. The refugees who, for some strange reason, don't contain any women or children, only military-aged men, and they're. And they're coming here from Jackson County to sow the seeds of hate.
And the fool, I'm using the right word, Kjo said, just like ISIS. So here, it's
he made an equation.
With the first picture. So we're asking you, Stu, you've got 2 choices now. And the 2 choices are A or 2. No, the 2 choices are dog or green. No, the 2 choices are you here sowing seeds of discontent or hate? Which one, Stu?
Yes, and the one in the middle here is Stu. Just so you know.
Well, I'll tell you what. They made it think like I had to sneak in or something. I came here because I really appreciate the area. I appreciate the independence I've seen in a lot of people around here, and I told them, I said, there seems to be a real big disconnect that 80% of the people vote down something, and they do because they're jealous of their independence. They want to be free from government control, and I personally, I love the downtown. I think it's got a nice mixture of stores and shops and businesses, and what would happen to those things? What would happen to people's livelihoods if it was a sales tax? It would be a disaster.
Well, and here's the sad thing, Stu. They don't care.
Yeah, that has become really obvious to me, and it's just, it is total disconnect, and they only care for themselves, to grow a better government, to have that steady stream of benefits coming in. Mm-hmm. It's a complete selfishness, and it's what I call, like I say, is a parasitical attitude. And
there's Paris. You know what Paris again, tossed into the news.
Here's the problem, Stu. You're just a selfish person, aren't you?
And right. You don't care about law enforcement, Stu. Mike, I'd say that Stu is here to, of those 2 things, I think he's here to stir up hate.
Yes.
Coming across that border, just like ISIS. Thank you, Stu, for joining us and giving us that little report. Now we're going to play videos. Woohoo!
Yeah, thanks, Stu.
You
Bye,
bet.
Stu.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, now some of these you have seen or we've alluded to them. And the first one, it's part of our No Lesson Learned little series. And this one's called Dan DeYoung. Dan DeYoung laughs at voters because he does laugh at the end, since we're obviously not really interested in safety. I know we played it, but I got to see this again. Go ahead, Mike.
There's a group of people that wants to blame everything on government officials when in actuality, they're not really interested in getting the foundation for most communities is safety. I mean, that is your foundation. If I'm not safe going to a restaurant, I don't go to that restaurant anymore. My family's not safe going to the county fair. I won't go to the county fair anymore. But safety is number one, and I don't understand how that falls apart when it comes time to vote, cast your vote, to support something that goes directly toward public safety. We heard it loud and clear. As I told the Daily Courier today, I was fairly certain it was going to fail, but I didn't think it would fail that bad.
Now, Stu's not really on the phone anymore, Mike. Mike, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, yeah, there's a delay. Yeah. So, Mike, what do you think about his summary of the people who didn't vote for this are simply, what was it that he said? Not interested in safety.
Yeah, they're not interested in safety. And well, okay, now listen. Okay, let's say for a second that he is correct about that. Okay, there's 78% of the people. What? In another part here, you're going to hear somebody talking about we were connected with the will of the people. Well, if you were connected with the will of the people, and if the will of the people really is to not, lay this foundation for public safety, then shouldn't you follow their will? Is that important, or do you need to impose upon them your idea of public safety because they're too stupid to understand what's good for them? I'm guessing that's the general point.
This is disappointing, and Mike pointed out last night, just a little bit of humility, just a little bit like, you know what, we really screwed up. Okay, we talked ourselves into this thing, and now we obviously were wrong. We've not really been representing you very well. We're going to do our best from now on. We all make mistakes. They're not saying any of those things. They're blaming it on you. They're not just on me, not on Mike because he doesn't live in the city, not just on me. They're blaming it on you.
Oh, I'm sure they're blaming it on me too.
It's in their own words. Now, okay, Mike has seen a lot of reactions to this video in particular on Facebook. Mike, tell us what's happening on Facebook. Now, Mike doesn't like to mention names of the people who were on there. Okay, I'm going to kind of go along with him on that. But tell him about the electric reaction. Now, not in Josephine County politics, because that's mostly a bunch of people who have arguments to put on their side, fairly smart arguments, not always, but fairly smart arguments, and they've got some facts behind them. What happens in some of the other websites, Facebook sites, is that people have a tendency to go a little bit more with emotion and hot button reactions, a little bit more. So tell us,
I'd say that's accurate. I'd say that's accurate. You know what? And it's weird because I consider the two videos that I posted to be fairly equal in nature in terms of their, provocativeness of it. Although, I can understand that some people that don't watch politics and they're not looking for particular things, that some stuff is going to go over the top of their head. But I thought both of these were, but one of them got all the attention. And I think it was just because, when people comment on stuff on Facebook, that puts it up at the top of the page, and the other one falls down. The longer it goes without a comment showing up in it, the further down the list it gets, and so that's how it works.
Well, which one was the one that got all the comments? The one we just showed, or the next one?
I think it was the Dan DeYoung one. Yeah, it was the Dan DeYoung one. And the other one that I posted was one with Mayor Fowler that I thought was just very
Killer.
clear that he was, that he was just, he just thinks that, that people are just stupid.
Well, in this particular case, so what was it that this guy that I kind of like, but what was it that he was saying? What he was saying is, well, look, people they obviously don't want law enforcement. And when you don't want law enforcement, you're going to vote against things. What makes you think that we don't want law enforcement? No, we want intelligent law enforcement. We don't want a sales tax. And don't forget, I'm not going to let you forget that the mayor said that even if a bunch of businesses went out of business in our area, they'd keep doing it for a year or two. That's not listening to the people.
Yeah, and I thought, well, God, does he really mean that, or would he, catch on to it, And I thought, well, he really wouldn't do that. At this point, I think he really would do that, because it's just like Stewart said. Stewart said it very well. Is that they're interested in their own little world. They're interested in funding their own, little fiefdoms, and they, want their benefits coming in, and they want all that stuff. And these counselors aren't paid, but they get paid in approval points of the apparatus there. And
or maybe business deals. Business deals.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's one way to benefit from it. But it's pretty well understood that they pursue what the city apparatus wants. And
apparatchiks, to use another political word. Yes.
Okay. So and that's kind of how I think they view things, and Stuart pointed that out very well. I think that's sums it up rather nicely.
Now, Stu doesn't know all the characters yet because he's relatively new. I think it's interesting to look at it through his eyes. He came here because he was thinking this is a wonderful place. Well, good. We agree, except on a couple of things, and he's finding out. And we'll talk with him a bit tomorrow. We're going to have a little meeting with Stu tomorrow. And he said that the guy that was running it, now, do you remember the guy that was running the last time that there was a group of people that had come to talk about the sales tax and to try to give advice to the city government? Do you remember who ran that one? I would guess the same guy this time. Jay Meredith.
Yes.
Now, tell us why you're laughing, Mike.
Well, I know Jay Meredith from back in, I was in SOS with him, and he was kind of, pushing things then. He was pushing the sales tax even back then. So I know, and it's funny because my wife had a conversation with him on Facebook, and he denied that this was his baby. Because she kind of said, well, isn't this your baby? He denied that this is his baby at all. He was just doing what his boss told him to do. Well, I know that back in 2012, he was pushing this exact same thing. This exact same sales tax. It was I had a recording because we recorded a podcast about it, and I was just being a good SOS guy and sort of asking the questions, and he'd ramble on about, the structure of the thing. But it was exactly the same.
Now,
same thing.
Neither Mike nor I had joined any groups because we were trying to be spies or something like that. No. But Mike was part of SOS, a vital part of SOS. I was on Gil Gilbertson's Sheriff's Advisory Committee, right? I went to several of their meetings. So that's the background I'm coming from. And I went because I wanted to see more law enforcement things happen. And then when Gil did this thing about lying to the Secretary of State, and I'm using the right word, that was a lie. He said, well, I wasn't there. I had nothing to do with it, or whatever he could come up with. Oh, that never happened. And that thing that Dave told her, that didn't happen. And this didn't happen. I said, but that's just not true. It's not true. Before that meeting started, I went to him out in the hallway. I said, you just pick up your cell phone. Oh, gee, I've got to go or something. Because they're trying to take your good reputation and apply it to themselves. No, I'm going to do this. We didn't last much longer after that because he lied to the Secretary of State. It's like that thing with the fudge swirl. I mean, sure, he did a lot of good things, but there's a fudge swirl in the middle that's not fudge. And he did that. And now he hates the new sheriff and will say and do anything he needs to, as far as I can see, to try to get the new sheriff in trouble. Not too hard sometimes. Okay. But that's the background that I came from the background of saying it can't be true that we have less crime than we had before. I'm a doubting person even about people who are on my side. Just ask anybody. They don't, oh, you're not always on our side. Yeah, well, prove it to me. So that's where we came from. So we've got another in that little series, which I think is kind of fun. And this one is called No Lesson Learned. Proud and triumphant council, because they've used both words, says they were just following the will of the people.
We've had comments made about the council numerous times that we're not following the will of the people. And the things that we've done, that's exactly what we have been doing for the city, for the people of the city of Grants Pass. Not the county, not the state. Our marijuana, our cannabis problems and things like that, we were following what the people told us when it was in the vote. And I want that put on the record that we're not derelict in our job up here, sitting up here. We're following the will of the people of the city of Grants Pass.
Well, that's interesting because will you be logging the results of this vote here and then holding to that as we go forward? I would hope so.
And who was this guy? Ken Hannum. You hardly ever notice him. But when they had the vote, you may recall Lily Morgan, who was simply split from that atmosphere, and I can understand why, a bunch of reasons why for that. And she was strongly saying, I don't think this is right. Shouldn't we do some kind of poll? Oh, no, we don't need a poll. We have our fingers on the pulse of the public. Yeah, well, we're following their will. The only other person that put up a half-hearted, and it was pretty wimpy, honestly, argument against the sales tax was this guy. And now he's changed his mind? What? Now you've changed your mind? What are you saying?
Yeah,
bad political timing there, Ken.
Well, listen, what I want to hear from one of these guys is clearly that was a mistake.
That would be an interesting start.
But none of these guys have done that. They're all going, what we did, that was fantastic. I'm so proud. That we did what we did. And,
but they're saying mistakes were made. Oh, yeah, they're definitely saying mistakes were made by 80% of the population.
Right. Mistakes were made on the part of the people who didn't vote for this.
And the reason they didn't vote for this is because they have no reasons. Because, as Roy Lindsay put it, they're just saying no new taxes. Well, what about the law enforcement? No new taxes. Yeah, well, what about the children? No new taxes. Well, and they're not thinking.
I think they should have the debates when they're having the election for city councilors. They should have them in these chambers, and they should flash these videos on the monitor and ask them, you see that? What does that mean to you? Do you understand why these people are now on their way out and new people are on their way in? What do you think of what they said? Oh, I think that's just fine. They're probably right. Okay, that guy's off the list.
That's right.
And you just go, really vetting people.
Okay,
it needs to be done.
Right. Something like that happened earlier today. There was a pretty small group of people that were sort of cobbled together to listen to about half of the candidates for county commissioner, such as there are. I just went down and got a new list today, and it hasn't changed very much. And Lily Morgan showed up, and Ron Smith did not, and you didn't see Keith Heck. He wasn't even invited. And let's see, Mark Sullivan showed up, and Cheryl Walker was not invited. They are candidates. not invited. So you got about half of the, Tony Webb showed up. And so what would you expect them to talk about? Well, one of the topics, to me, this is just me, maybe you guys disagree. First topic, do you support the idea of a property tax? Because we've had them sometimes twice a year, I think, for the last decade. Now, what
So
would you think?
legit question.
Okay, I think it's the number one question to ask to separate one group of candidates from another group of candidates. So based upon what you know, I've got a little inside information about what happened there, but based on what you know so far, how do you think Mark Seligman came down? We're mentioning him by name tonight.
Oh, he said, no, I'm not going to support a levy.
That's right. What do you think that Tony Webb said?
You know, I think she said no, she's not going to support a levy.
She started talking about a 99-cent levy.
Okay, there you go. There you have it.
She's permanently categorized. I called this one. Okay, I give myself, unlike the counselors, a real pat on the back, because I said she has supported it in the past. She's going to support it in the future. Yeah, okay, she was talking about it, and there you go.
Already talking about it in the opening of running. You wait till she gets elected.
And that's a year before the final election. So,
and listen, we know that Cheryl Walker said, "Oh no, I think a levy's a bad idea." The day she took office,
day one,
all of a sudden she was I've had an epiphany.
Right. So, it was the first day, and she was in the hallway. I'm sitting down in the hallway. I wasn't peeping on him or anything. I'm sitting right there. I can't help but hear him. And she's speaking loudly to the television. Well, I think it's really the only way. And she didn't make up her mind in the last few minutes. She knew what she was doing. I think she lied to us to get elected.
Okay. All right. So we got Mark Seligman and Tony Webb.
Tony Webb. All right. Ron Smith did not show.
He didn't. Okay.
Thinks, right. We already know what Cheryl Walker thinks, and we already know what Keith Heck thinks. Okay. Right. Now, that's not very many people who are in favor of taking a break.
There's one more that was there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And Lily Morgan. What did she say?
Well, Lily Morgan kind of danced around it a little bit, but she sort of came down on the side of saying, there may be times when this kind of thing could be, a good plan of things to do into the future. Lily Morgan comes from the law enforcement side of this whole deal.
Right. No, I understand. So I wonder if we're ever going to have like a recording of what happened there or something.
Nope.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yep.
Because I think that any of this stuff, if a candidate is appearing before a group of people for the purpose of consideration, there ought to be a recording of it, and we ought to be able to refer to it at some point in the future.
Now, this was a pretty small group that they met in front of, and you had to pay to get in. Yeah, $17 to get in. Well,
wow. Where did that money go?
Follow the money. I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, probably in the same place that all the money where it goes to support this program.
Yes.
There is no such thing. Okay. And who knows what happened to that money. But anyway, that sort of fits in with the general theme. We are watching these guys. Okay, we're watching them now. I've made no secret. In fact, I've said several times at weekly business sessions that I'm running for Keith Heck's position. Okay, and they know that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they decided they don't want to hear from me at all at weekly business sessions. I'm a candidate for one of their positions. Of course, they don't want to hear from me. To whom do you complain? To you, our viewers. You can decide what you think about that. They don't want to hear from a strong candidate or a weak one or whatever. They don't want to hear that, especially not someone that turned them in, especially not someone that names names. Can't have that. Okay, we're going to play another video. Yes, and I'm an official candidate. I'm registered. Okay, this next one's called No Lessons Learned. It's part of our little series.
Hey,
Since
whoa, 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 hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on just a second here. Did you just say that you went and filed?
I did,
You did.
yeah. Well, I told everybody already knows. It's not like
Well, no, they know that you have been saying that you were gonna do it. We didn't
well,
know
you're
that.
surprised that I'm a man of my word. Come on now.
No, I'm not surprised at all. But I just thought, a mention of that, and I had to like pick it out of the ether as it was zipping past my
It's
nose.
not all about me. Look,
No, I understand. I just
I've
thought,
come
hey,
up with a plan, and I've been sharing it with people, and I've been trying to get people to sign on to the plan that says, here's what we're going to do, here's the order we're going to do it, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this other thing. Whoever signs up with the plan, I'm happy to see that and modify it and tell me why, and we'll work on it together. I'm happy to do that. Because it's not just about me. Now, I'm one of the people who could do this for you, and when I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And there will be specifics, none of this dancing around. Well, maybe a yes and a maybe I know. I mean, we saw that from Tony. Well, I kind of did and I kind of didn't. No. It's too late now. You've already, well, I didn't, I wasn't really saying nine. Yeah. Okay. I suggest that the first dividing line, it depends on your point of view. Maybe you love higher property taxes and you think that all the money is going to go exactly where they say. But to me, that's the first dividing point. How many people are going to stand on this side of the room, and Tony doesn't get to stand on both? And how many are going to stand on this side of the room? Now, I'm solidly over on this side, and I'm saying I will support the idea of taking a break from this. Okay, support the idea. And it doesn't mean that you can't get together some kind of referendum and put it on the ballot. Okay, but like to give you some feedback that we think it's time for a little bit of a break. You've been trying this now for a decade, and every time the answer is no. If we can set that aside, you guys, set it aside. I want law enforcement. Set it aside for a little bit and say, okay, let's act like we can't do that. What? We can't do it? Yes, act like we can't do it. Now, what are we going to do? Well, I have no ideas. Well, then don't run. What are you doing?
Yeah, you know what? The thing is, clearly the people don't want it. So why would you be in so much of a hurry? And it's because, and I think this is something the city councilors suffer from, is they believe that, well, I'm in here now and government runs everything and we have to take care of something. Well, the people have told you they don't want you to take care of it. They've told you that they don't want you to, put another bill in their.
They don't mean that, Mike. Come on, they don't mean it, or they don't know any better, or Roy Lindsay hasn't talked to him yet. Hey.
Yeah, and so why don't we just take what the people say and actually go, okay, let's just for fun, let's just act like they really meant what they said. And govern accordingly and live within our means. Like we'll do a 4-year test case just to see if we could do it. Actually live within our means and stop pushing people all the time, poking them. You know what? Maybe after 4 years, they'll come up to you and say, hey, maybe you'd like some more of my money. You never know.
That's well, okay. So what you're going to hear over a period of time is, well, nobody's going to vote for that guy. That guy's against the property tax. Nobody's going to. Well, look at these city councilors. They still think that you're stupid for the way that you voted. Those are just the grass pass voters. 80% of their constituents they think are stupid. And so you would never vote for this guy. Well, like he said, nobody's watching that show of yours. Nobody's watching it. Cheryl Walker, well, that companies are not moving here. Really? Why? Because they told me of your show. That's the reason they're not moving here, because of our show.
That's just the stupidest thing I've heard this week.
That's what you said.
Yes.
You said that you're going to find solutions without us. I'm in the audience going, well, then you don't get to speak. Plus, you're a candidate for one of our positions. That's a good enough reason to not let you speak at all. Really? Is that the way the rules work? Yes. This is Josephine County. That's the way the rules work.
Apparently.
Do you like it? Do you like it?
I like it.
Yes, I bet you do. Okay, so this next one, now that was Ken Hannum. Okay, here's the next one, and this one's called Since They Have No Regrets, maybe the problem that won't go away is really them. Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to say that I have no regrets about putting the sales tax on the ballot. Somebody's got to kind of come up with a solution here. This thing is knocking our head against the wall again and again and again with those countywide votes. All we're trying to do is to give people another option to make a more comprehensive solution of public safety in the county. We can't do it all, but we were trying to do a little more. And I hope the people, the problem isn't going away. It's still there, no matter what the vote was.
The people don't want your comprehensive solution. That's just what I'm getting from that 70%.
Mike, we're trying to give you an option. Don't you appreciate it? I have no regrets.
Well, you could have asked me if I wanted an option, and I could have told you no, and that would have saved you a lot of time and money.
And as Lily Morgan said, shouldn't we do some kind of poll? Poll? Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. We don't need no stinking poll. We already know what the people think. We've got our finger on their pulse.
Yes. Right. And it's because they got their
finger on your pulse like this.
Yeah, they can feel it through the boot on your neck. Yes.
He has no regrets. Mikey has no regrets.
Well, and there's apparently nobody on that board that has a regret.
No.
And I'm really sorry about that. That really bothers me that they don't get it that badly. I understand
78%, whatever, 80%. I'm sticking with 80.
This is essentially an 80-20 split in my mind. Always has been. As soon as you say 78%, I just round it up and go, this is close enough. Look, you want to quibble between 78 and 80? Come on.
Well, okay. With the 4 junk ordinances, okay, they weren't actually called junk ordinances. No one would have voted for them at all. And they came out a variety of different variations on 80. We now don't say, well, the 76 and the 78 and the 81. We don't say that. We just say the 80% vote. Okay, we're going to live. It's close.
Well, and listen, I haven't heard any,
not even on Facebook.
No, people aren't taking that to task. They take all kinds of other things to task. You know what's weird though, is when I posted these videos, I only get attacked by people who I know voted for it. They're
tell them about the guy that you asked. You voted for this, didn't you? I love this story.
Oh no, I asked them a bunch of times. They refused to answer. They just won't answer. Well, one guy was hassling me, and I said, "Did you vote for this?" He goes, "Oh hell no, I wouldn't have voted for that." And I'm thinking to myself, "You're giving me a bunch of guff for posting this, and you're sounding like you're in defense of the city councilors. You didn't even vote for this for yourself. What the heck?"
Was this the same guy? Because I read one of them, and the guy says, "Well, actually, I decided to sit this one out." What?
Oh yeah, no, that was somebody else entirely. No, that was somebody else said. Oh yeah, no, I didn't agree with either one of these. And I thought, God, you are really riding me hard here, about my treatment of this guy. You know what? Listen, I don't believe that it's the city council's job to look for solutions for law enforcement funding. There's only a few places that's going to come from. Now, if some miracle thing happens, good. But what you should be number one concerned about is the health of the economy in this town. And when the health of the economy is good, the law enforcement funding will come. It will be there for you. Anytime when the economy's been good around here, there hasn't been an issue in terms of the funding. So I personally think you ought to take care of that first. And listen, even if you really want to tax people really, really badly, if the people don't want to do it, you should go with the people.
Tax people really, really badly seems to be their motto. We're going to tax you really, really badly.
Yes, right, exactly. So it appears.
Here's yet another one. I just find these things fascinating, but that's me. Okay.
This one does it for me. This is the one that blows the top off my thermometer here on this one.
Let's all watch. You can see his hair is already there. This one's called No Lesson Learned. Fowler blames 80% of voters, quote, we don't have a good argument, so we're saying no.
Well, I certainly agree that it took a very brave council to try and
They're so
tackle
brave.
a countywide problem. And the only thing that could generate that kind of revenue, as we found out, was some sort of sales tax. And so we knew that the city of Grants Pass voters were already paying $5.50.
So we're going to add on more.
The 58 cents
Right.
that the county people pay. We pay that same 58 cents and then pay $5.50 more to try and pay for our city services, which I think we do a very good job of managing.
Oh, yes,
as
made a
far
very
as
good
council
job.
and as far as staff. And so I think we asked a really tough question. We got a clear answer, and that really helps us go forward because we don't have to talk about that in the near future.
Okay.
But I do.
You know what? Hang on just a
I
second.
know. Go, Mike, go.
Yeah, hang on a second. I gotta find the one that puts
Oh, he's
it-
got to
okay.
slide into third.
This is the thing that bothers me a little bit about this is because he's saying we asked a question and we got a clear answer and that helps us going forward. It sounds like he's really on your side, doesn't it?
Now,
Sounds like, you know what?
let me interject when he says that. We asked a question, we got a clear answer. Buddy, you got a clear answer all the way up to the point at which you did this. We were giving you a clear answer. You just weren't listening to that clear answer. Go ahead. And you didn't want to do a poll. Don't forget that.
Right. But now,
here it comes.
Yeah, it's like, we heard you, but now I need to tell you what I think about you for how you voted.
Yes.
Expect that it would be a chance for the voter to be more engaged this year in the campaigns of our county commissioners.
Now, stop for a second.
For city council.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Why is he exhorting people to get more involved in the campaigns for the Josephine County commissioners?
Oh, because he wants, more people in there, just like make sure that you replace whoever you take out of there with people just like the people that were there before.
Exactly. What group is he speaking to? I have my favorite club. I think he's addressing directly. He's talking to the Rotary Club. If you're not going to vote for Cheryl and Keith, who back up the idea of the property tax 1,000%, and if they've eroded their public confidence, which they have, but Fowler's convinced that he hasn't, why, then we'll just replace them with some other cookie cutter people who are going to push for the thing again. Of course, it's again and again and again. And remember, he just said this is the only way to get the money. This is the only way.
Yeah. See, and that's what bothers me. When they say it's the only way, I'm sorry, I have to reject that out of hand. You don't have any new ideas. I mean, they're the ones with no new ideas. They keep saying, where's your new ideas? They don't have any new ideas. They only have one idea. Tax you.
Well, look at that percentage. Look at the percentage in the corner. This is their approval rating. Okay. Remember when we were in school and maybe you got, an 80% vote. An 80% vote was probably a C plus. It might have been a C. What is a 20% score?
Yes. Well, wait a minute. 80% is a C? Really? It's
where I went to school, it was.
Well, yeah. Well, the standards were a little tougher in your place.
75% was a D. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that makes sense.
All right. 20% on a test. Have they failed this test? Should they be proud? Have they done the will of the teacher in the classroom and their school? 20% approval.
Yeah. Weird.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna roll this back just a little here.
Okay.
That it would be a chance for the voter to be more engaged this year in the campaigns of our county commissioners and of our 4 city council seats, because it's important who sits up here and it's important who sits over there at the county. And we know that our county-wide system has suffered through a lack of trust. Whether it's warranted or not can be argued all day long, but that trust level just keeps people from even thinking the issues all the way through.
Oh.
And then they see a simple concept of no new taxes. They don't have to articulate an argument. All they have to do is say, nope, nope, no. We don't have a good argument, so we're saying no.
We don't have a good argument, so we're saying no.
Well, and you know, listen, here's an interesting thing. And I tell you what, why don't you vamp for a second? I'm going to pull up something from a very reputable business owner in this community and his response to that video. Okay.
Okay. So
Stan,
here is the mayor. He's summarizing your vote, right? And what he's saying is, they come across a simplistic answer. No new taxes. Roy Lindsay said this too. No new taxes. No. Well, what about the children? No new taxes. I told you already. Well, what about if the children are at home and they're being abused by their parents, sexually abused by their parents? No new taxes. No new taxes. This way they don't have to think. These are not thinking voters. These are 80% of dunces, dolder, all those bad words. These are people who can't think for themselves. All they do is come. They're the noise that destroys. That's what we were called a couple of elections ago. We weren't even speaking English. We were just noise, and we weren't good guys. We were just destroying. We're the equivalent of ISIS. We come across the border to sow seeds of hate and discontent. This is the other side. Even if you don't agree with what Mike and I are saying, how do you like the way that the other side is being portrayed by the people who are pushing for this? You're not thinking. You don't have a good reason.
you're dumb. You're stupid.
Heads. You just say no without thinking. And Roy Lindsay.
Somebody says no new taxes and your brain shuts off.
Yeah, that's all that you have to say. That's the only answer that you have. That's okay. Roy Lindsay. Go ahead, Mike.
This is after that. Now, if you recall here, let's just play the last 10 seconds of Mr. Fowler here, so you can remember what it was that he said, and then I'm going to tell you what this business owner said.
No new taxes. They don't have to articulate an argument. All they have to do is say nope, nope, no. We don't have a good argument, so we're saying no.
Okay. Now, the guy who responded here is Mark Hutto. Mark Hutto owns the J. Austin Fine Jewelers place. They have the gold and silver and things like that on 6th Street there in Grants Pass. He also has a place over in Ashland, very reputable business owner. He said he was presented with excellent and logical stats and arguments, and he ignored them. Yes, he does not remember those arguments or chooses to ignore them. He has an agenda, and the people are not included in it. This is a major disconnect between the people and their representatives. This is scary and absurd. Groupthink may have set in, and there is no reversing that very easily. We need to lower pay for some position so the city can stop attracting outside people who do not represent our values.
He means lower the pay, obviously, for the staff and for the mayor.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? You're going to have to put a shot across these people's bows. These videos that we're playing tonight show that these people still do not get it.
No
they
lessons
do
learned.
not get it. That these people either have to go or they have to drop on their knees and beg for our forgiveness here.
And while they're down there, they might pray for a little guidance, real guidance.
Yeah, no,
because as I said about Simon Hare, that person, that entity, that being that is whispering in your ear, it's okay to lie. I'm the great deceiver. That's not Jesus. You're being given advice by the wrong guy.
Yeah.
It's not okay to lie. It's not okay to say, well, they have no reasons. There's no reasons. They obviously have no reasons. That's not Jesus giving you advice, buddy. Okay, we've got one more because we had to bring this home. You knew eventually we had to. We can't stay at the city council meeting forever. Okay, so I love this next video.
We wanted to.
It's not quite as explosive, but you should be, in my opinion, just as outraged by this. This one's called Hare. That's Simon Hare. Hare says property owners should be grateful. I'm paraphrasing. When forced to sell to the government against their will. Listen to what Rob Brandis says to Simon Hare, and Simon Hare's explanation of why eminent domain is really a blessing.
I did find it a bit curious that there was some debate last Wednesday as to someone losing private property rights as part of the right of necessity. And besides the fact, like you put out, this has been settled decades ago in court of law, or Commissioner Heck did.
Now, did you notice what Rob Brandis just said? Right of necessity. Now, they don't like the word eminent domain because there's a lot of people that know what that means. It's what I put up there, that the government forces you to sell your property. They don't exercise eminent domain on somebody that wants to sell it. You have to say, no, I don't want to sell it, and then they force you to sell it to them at a price that they pick. The government does. They have to force you. Nobody is forced under eminent domain unless they say, no, thank you, I don't want to sell my property. And then you have to take it from them by force, okay? So they don't like the word eminent domain. They used to be saying that. Now they don't use that word. You never hear them mention it again. Now it's called, do you remember what it's called, Mike?
Yes, it's a resolution of necessity.
What did Rob Brandis
just
call
like
it?
Good thing, Dale. I don't know why you object.
It's simply a resolution of a problem, Mike, and it's a
necessity.
It's a necessity. Two wonderful things.
You know, it's like food and water, and baby clothes for babies.
To wear clothes when you go out in public, it's a necessity, right?
Right.
And to feed your baby, that's a necessity.
Right. Well, you wouldn't want to deprive people of their necessities, would you, Dale?
No, actually I don't, for today only. Okay, but you just heard Rob Brandis. He didn't call it a resolution of necessity. What did he just call it?
He called it a right of necessity.
The right of necessity. Now, wait a minute.
Boy, that kind of flips the whole thing on its head, doesn't it?
Whose right are we talking about here?
I think he was talking about, because the resolution of necessity is done for the benefit of the government entity. So when he says the right of necessity, that's almost like their right to have dominion over you.
Keep in mind when they're talking about this, that eminent domain is not exercised on people who say, yeah, great, I have no use for this, but please do take it. Wow, that sounds great. No. For whatever reason, maybe that property's been in your family forever. Maybe you like a riparian area. Maybe you want ducks and fish or whatever to be in that riparian area, and you don't want to sell it off to. Oh, you have your own reasons. It's your property. So then the government has to come in and take it from you against your will, and then they give you a price that they think is fair, and you really have no say in it. You can peep about it, but they're taking it. So keeping that in mind, let's go on with Rob Brandis' theory and how Simon here agrees with him wholeheartedly. People should be grateful.
No, and you could put up inundation maps, and at some point you start saying, are we going to be really that concerned about somebody getting paid more than market value for land that's wetland?
Frankly,
endangering hundreds of residents.
People should be more upset about the fact that they're paying taxes on land that is unusable by the state. Kind of catch-22. The state should theoretically buy everybody up to the high water mark, but they can't do anything with that property anyway. I mean, we're charging taxes all the way down to the middle of a river, in a lot of cases. It's like, you're not using any of that. It's state-controlled waterway. I would be upset if I had property like that. I think there'd be something more.
Hopefully the inundation map would be enough to create anybody's attention.
Okay. This guy's getting a deal being bought out, frankly.
Yay! I want a deal like that.
I don't understand what the deal is that you're being bought out, frankly.
Yeah. Right.
So eminent domain is a good thing. In fact, it's the right of government to do that.
Well, and listen, to be fair about that, I could see somebody in a situation like that thinking in the way that they're talking about. But I can also see people in a situation like that not thinking that way. But he can't think of those people in that situation not thinking that way.
because government wants what it wants. And
That's
listen, whatever the guy's reason for not accepting their offer, he has his reason. It's his property.
right.
They have to go to court. They have to exercise the right of the government to take any property that they want, offer you any price that they like, and you have to accept it because they're going to determine what that's worth. You have no choice. If you wanted to sell it, you would have. They don't have to use the power of government to take it away from you. Well, they should be grateful. What if he's not grateful for your thing that you think he ought to be grateful about, Simon? Well, then he has no use for it. Who are you to decide that he has no use for it? But out.
Well, and you know what? This is good that we're talking about this, because I think that the exercise of eminent domain should be a last resort thing. Like, you absolutely have to do this. It's not some, I mean, if there's any way of getting out of exercising eminent domain, I think the government has an obligation to pursue that.
I will agree with you. I'll agree with you, but here's my point, okay? My point is, even if they think they're doing that, Simon's attitude and Rob Brandis, head of Public Works, their obvious attitude is, you should be grateful that the government is forcing you to sell this. Grateful.
Yeah. Which reminds me of a movie exchange where, you know, they're in the Cloud City.
Yes.
And it's Darth Vader and it's Lando Calrissian. And Lando is, you know, saying, you're altering the contract. And Vader saying, pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's how they come at this thing.
Okay, so there's going to be people on Facebook. Well, you know, we need to do this. Yes. Oh, it's all the way back to the beginning of the country. Well, I'm not convinced it goes back that far, but it goes back a long way. Okay. All right. And so every once in a while, government needs to do this. Okay. But do they have to be telling you, really, well, you should be grateful that we're taking this away from you? You have no use for it. You should be grateful. Give up that toy, kid. You ought to be grateful to give this toy to your parents.
Yes. It ought to be done with the utmost of humility and you know, listen, we apologize that we have to do this, but
no, you should be grateful.
Unfortunately, we do have to do this, and you know, we don't want to, you know, take this from you. You know, you're right. I mean, listen, you're not going to be able to console everybody in that situation, because some people are just not going to be, but you shouldn't be a jerk. And that's, you know, more and more as we go down the road, we see the way government treats people.
It's an imperial attitude.
Yeah. There's no reason why government has to treat you that way. Listen, you should understand that if you're in government service being the operative word, you are going to have to deal with people's problems, and they're not going to be happy about it. Why don't you show some compassion for them? You are the thorn in their side. Okay?
Especially if you're going to take property without their permission. Yes.
Yes. And but I'm talking about all kinds of stuff, not just specifically this. A lot of times people have to go down to City Hall to do some sort of paperwork. Nobody wants to be there doing that crap. They have to come there to do that stuff because it's regulated upon them. They must. And you're the one who's enforcing that. So why don't you show a little bit of compassion to people? This is why you're there. Why you don't get that? I don't understand. Why can't we have these people? Why must there be enmity between this commissioner's body and the people that they serve? What is that about?
The same thing goes for the city councilors.
Of course.
They lose, but they're blaming us for it because we're stupid.
Yeah.
Because we don't see Roy Lindsay's explanation as legitimate. And so because he doesn't have enough proof on his side, he makes up imaginary conversations with people. This is imaginary, make no mistake about it, where he says, well, let me tell you something logical. I don't want to listen to logic. I say no new taxes. Well, what about children? I'm not going to listen to children. No new taxes. Because they're non-thinking robots. Roy, man, if you got it completely upside down and backwards, pal, and you've learned no lesson about 80%, that's because they're stupid. No, not because we're stupid. It doesn't have to be discouraging. There are answers. We've got some answers for you, and we intend to roll them out so that you can look at them, and then the other side, oh, that's not possible. That can't be done. That you must have to maintain an imperial attitude. Why, as soon as you get in as commissioner, you got to go up to the AOC and be lectured about who's in charge. You know what? I got another book to read. Makes it very clear.